Good evening, and welcome to the Vinny Briscoe Show podcast. Tonight's guest, Ian Uncle Creepy McCall. Ian is a retired MMA fighter. He's a former world champion. He fought in WEC, UFC, and Ryzen. He is a podcaster. He's a comedian. He has an old school pugilist-looking appearance and has a curly mustache. And he and his girlfriend, Reni Marin, they're studying psychedelic integration and psychedelic integration coaching. He's working with a variety of companies in sports integration for psychedelics and specifically psilocybin. And they are the figureheads on the decriminalization on psilocybin in the state of California. And for those of you who don't know what psilocybin is, they are mushrooms. One might call them magic mushrooms. Now, Rena didn't join me on the call, but I did get a chance to speak to Ian and talk about his journey and how psilocybin has been a huge part of that and the integration of psilocybin and how he's transformed from where he was then as an MMA fighter and where he is now and the journey that he's been on that's brought him to his current point. And it was an awesome opportunity to speak to him. And I would just say he's like my new best friend. Just going to put that out there. We've been texting. No big deal. So without any further ado, Ian Uncle Creepy McCall. Ian Uncle Creepy McCall.
What's going on?
How are you, brother?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Not bad, man. Usually I'm the one that does the calling.
Oh, do you want to call me?
No, I feel very honored that you called me. I feel special.
I'm about to do my own podcast in a little bit, so I'm going to make sure to get this done.
Are you doing Storytime Uncle Creepy?
No. I have a new one called The Intellectual Giant.
I heard.
And we're filming and recording the second episode.
Excellent, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's going to be and yeah, this guy is the first intellectual giant that this is the guy that it's named after.
And who are you having on first if you want to share?
What was that?
Who are you having on first if you want to share?
Oh, he's a doctor friend of mine. His name is Greg Wolf.
Okay.
And he's an internist. He's been a Kundalini yoga practitioner for a long time. He studied with some very famous guru shaman types, and it's just a very. You have to just listen to the episode. It's crazy.
I absolutely will.
He's got some interesting things. He's just one of those people that you're like, wow, you know a lot of stuff. You can think of things really in depth.
Isn't that amazing when you're around those types of people? How you just could feel so like you're humbled by it. You're like, I don't know shit.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, it's crazy.
It's like rolling with a black belt.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a blue belt for that point. So
yeah, and with your brain that way.
It's just like they're just so there's so many steps ahead. And when you're in the presence of someone who's just super tapped in, whether it be to like the collective or super tapped into just knowledge and just able to go down those rabbit holes of consciousness, it's a certain presence that they just emanate, and it's almost tangible at certain points.
Oh yeah,
it's awesome.
I've gotten really good at listening because a lot of these really, really smart people want to engage in psychedelic activities with me, and I get to sit with them and just talk. Just kind of go over philosophy and philosophize about life and go to, just chat and just see how they look at the world. It's pretty crazy.
That's awesome, because I think that's a huge thing of what the world is currently missing, is the fact that people are just so inundated by television and their phones and Netflix and and you just get so wrapped up in that people don't just sit and pontificate anymore and philosophize and and share and express, and there's just not that that sense of community anymore. And you know, I've had some experience with psilocybin, and unfortunately, it's always been in the wrong setting, and I would say fairly disrespectfully to now knowing how important it could be and how powerful it could be. So I'm really intrigued, and I want to obviously dive into your journey with psilocybin and your journey, what brought you to being the forefront and a figurehead for the decriminalization of psilocybin in California.
Yeah, you know, this movement that we're on right now is, man, we get to pick up where people like Timothy Leary left off. Right now, I'm looking over Laguna Beach from up on top of the hill, literally at the very top of the hill, Bluebird Canyon, watching the sunset, looking at Catalina, taking in the same sort of space that, you know, acid, orange sunshine acid, LSD, was made here.
Right.
The most famous acid there is. The people that I work with have ties. You know, Timothy Leary spent time at their, you know, certain properties around here. This is where I grew up. And to be a good steward of this movement, I mean, sure, I think everyone knows I've had my trials and tribulations with drugs. You know, not so much alcohol, but drugs and sex addiction and
right.
crazy stuff, you know, violence. So I was getting a lot of beat people up for everything. But, you know, I've been able to break away from a 20-year painkiller addiction from 14 to 34. People don't really get it that I was high the whole time I was fighting professionally and wrestling in high school and in college. Performing at a high level, I was high. And the one time I got sober, I became world champion. So I don't know what to say,
but you know what the thing is, you could live in that space of, man, if I would have just been sober that entire time, where could my career have been? Or you could take it and do what you're doing with it and treat it as a lesson and realize things happen for you and not to you, and build from here moving forward. So how did psilocybin come into – I mean, obviously you're saying you had some addiction to drugs and not really alcohol, but sex and drugs and that type of lifestyle. And obviously having that respect for psilocybin and turning that corner. I mean, I imagine I heard you on some podcasts and some interviews where it was really OxyContin. First off, how do you even perform on that level – in that, and it's not like it's like, how do you even perform on that level being high on OxyContin or any other type of drug? How does it even, like, it's not fathomable to the average person.
I'm really good. Is what it is.
You are. I'm
exceptionally high level. That's the thing is, you know, there's great fighters like Demetrius Johnson, you know, one of the best of all time.
Of course, which you gave him one of the best fights of his career.
And I argue, yeah, I mean, I beat him. But, you know, what happened was I was sober, and I got the first fight. I kicked his ass. I got screwed on a call, which that's just, it happens in this sport.
Sure.
It happens in every sport, but in our sport a lot. And, you know, I took that as to start using again and to let my life spiral out of control, where me beating him was a motivating factor in him training harder and smarter and more, you know, just more, putting in more reps, doing repetition after repetition after. I was his driving force to become better. And that's an honor.
Sure.
Sure, I wish I would have kept my shit together and learned from being in rehab twice already in my life. And, that I wouldn't have taken drugs again, but I did, and my body was broken. And when my last fight, I was actually snorting OxyContin in the bathroom out in Japan. And I was like, whatever, fuck this. I'm like, I can still beat him. And that didn't work. But, you know, after I got TKO'd, I got stood up, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing right now? I walked in the back, I looked at my coaches, and I was like, yep, we're done. That's over with. Never happening again. And I've never looked back since. I mean...
But so many people don't have that. And a quick question. What drove you to become sober that first fight? So what was the turning point for you to say, I need to be sober for this?
Oh, I mean when I became champ?
Yeah.
Oh, I got out of rehab the second time after spending 6 more months in a rehab facility in Costa Mesa, and I got through it perfectly. And then I was sober for a while, you know, a year and a half, I think it was. I got a tattoo. I fought Jeff Willingham.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I didn't need money. My coach goes, "You need money. Do you want to take this fight?" And I was like, "Oh, who is it?" And he goes, "Jeff." And I was like, "Oh, I can beat Jeff. I can beat Jeff." That's, and I'm just my friend. It's nothing against him. He's a stud.
Of course.
I knew I could. And so I beat him, and then I go to get a tattoo on my chest, and I use that and I was sober for 18 months. I used that as an excuse to take opiates again,
mm-hmm.
and whatever else I took.
Sure.
So I tried to take all of it, whatever it was, and then I died. I had a drug overdose. I think they brought me back, obviously, and they told my brothers they carted me away that I wasn't going to make it, which I'm sure wasn't traumatizing to him at all.
No, that's fine.
he's fine. Now that I work in trauma healing, addiction and stuff, oh my God, I feel so bad for my family.
You're going to have to sit down with him and give him some psilocybin and be like, all right, let's talk this out.
Oh yeah, believe me. Yeah. He's the one that got me into psychedelics.
Oh, okay, so he's over it by now.
Yeah. And,
your ego has died to him many a time, so he's good.
Oh, yeah, it's great. So I overdosed, and then I was like, oh, fuck. I remember waking up, my dad going, are you done? Is this over? And I was like, yes, it's over. I'm sorry. And then but when I was in the hospital, I was there for a week. I aspirated. I was fucked up. Most people, when you say, oh, I overdosed, they gave you Narcan and they sent you home.
Right.
I was actually in the hospital for a week, and they, my agent calls me a few days into it, and he's like, hey, where you been? Or coach has been looking for you. I'm like, I'm in the hospital. And I told him what happened, and he was like, what? Why didn't you tell any of us? And I was like, because I don't want to see anybody. I'm fucking embarrassed.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, well, they want you to fight Juicy A, Famiga, in 2 months. And I went, okay, cool. I get out of here in a few days. I'll see you at the gym. That's
the life of a fighter, right?
Yeah. And,
that's crazy.
I got out, and the doctor's like, hey, whatever you do, granted I did just bring you back to life a week ago, and you're already in better shape than I'm in that I've ever been in. He's checking my heart and everything. He's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, yeah, I'm in really good shape. And plus I've been chasing your nurses around the whole building. And, it was bored. I was doing laps constantly and fucking around the whole time.
Yeah.
So then I got out and I got ready for Juicy A, and I beat him up, and then I became the best in the world. And then, after that I fought Ortiz, and then I fought, Daryl Montague, fucking beat his ass. I was on a run, and I was sober. That was the thing. I could fight all the time, and then obviously I got to the UFC, and I had the one screw up that almost ended my life. I stayed sober for a while, and then lost to Demetrius. My marriage was falling apart. In just insane fashion.
Yeah.
The crazy, I don't even need to get into it. It was fucking crazy.
Right.
And every bad thing you could think of, realistically, I was being physically abused, and it was crazy. I didn't ever hit back, but I'm just, whatever.
Yeah. In hindsight, you're looking back and saying how, absolutely.
We were both crazy. And once she went off to rehab in jail, for 5 years, I was this tortured mess.
Yeah.
And I look at her doing, people like, oh, you're cool with her now? And I'm like, yeah, she's sober and she's got a new baby, a new husband, and she's great. And I love her.
Yeah.
She's my daughter's fucking mother. And she, whatever she was out doing was crazy, but jail, rehab, stealing cars, I don't know what else she was doing. What was I doing? I was on Oxycontin. I had my kid.
Right.
I was taking care of her. I was making a fuckload of money, but at the same time, I was crazy. I had a new model girlfriend every 6 months who was crazy.
Right.
And and then I wasn't any better.
Right.
My daughter was diagnosed at 2.5 years old with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Right.
And I'm not stupid. I understand. I study this stuff, and trauma stores in the tissue. and it can manifest in all sorts of ways. And I do believe the trauma that we caused my daughter manifested in juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Where there's so much stress, and
just being exposed to that atmosphere and what was going on.
Yeah, and I can't explain the science all that as well as I should. I'm learning.
No.
But my girlfriend's a scientist and a professor, and I hang out with doctors. The guys on my show tonight's a doctor, and they explain this stuff to me. That's why I'm doing the show, is to show my education.
Yeah. It's not about knowing all of it. It's just and it's not even about understanding it or being able to reverberate it back to somebody, but there's an internal understanding of what you have an understanding. You were with her in that time, and you would be able to see how it manifests. And obviously, being a parent, I have two little ones. My daughter's 5, my son's 9 months. Parenting, but it also brings out a side of you that it's another side of you. You never hit such a high and such a low in like just an experience with another little human being, and how much love you could have for someone, and then how infuriated you could be with them in like a blink of an eye.
That's exactly why. I mean, that's why I do everything is for my kid. Yeah. Like, she's got a great life now. Both of her parents have their shit together. She has a new little sister. Granted, I work too much. Like, I drive to Vegas with my girlfriend and her sons and take them to the fights. We have a study that I'm doing with fighters, psilocybin. and it's just in the beginning stages. I'm doing this myself. I'm trying to figure it out, because I'm a psychedelic integration coach for sport.
Which is so cool, which is like a new... It's obviously there's no one doing it in the field. There's no one integrating psychedelics into any type of sport.
Not that we know of. And
right.
I like to brag that I'm the first one in the world, but probably not.
Well, you're the first that's speaking out openly about it, and obviously throughout. Listen, if you tell my mom or my dad, who are baby boomers, about psilocybin mushrooms, they're not going to be on board for it at all. Like, it's just they're not on board for it. So for such a long time, and now the culture's starting to shift. Whether you want to say it's a raise of the collective consciousness, or it's just part of our evolution. It's becoming more acceptable, and now the science is backing the woo-woo hippie stuff, just with meditation, just with breath work, people like Wim Hof. You have these people that are being backed up by science, whereas before it would just been hippie talk and woo-woo and, that's all a bunch of bullshit and all that type of stuff. But now it's being backed up by the results.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to show people is, even me, like, look at that. I was this fucking, manufactured tough guy bullshit, fighter guy that was crazy. And I was high all the time, so I was extra crazy. And now I've dropped all that. I mean, minus looking the way I look, I guess.
Like an old school boxer.
Yeah,
I love it.
I can't really change how I look, but
nor should you, sir.
It's I'm just such a different person now, and it's great to feel that way and to be that way for the people around me, the people I love.
Yeah.
And I was with I have a shaman, I have a few shaman that I work with, and I was with one that I just met down in San Diego, and going over, I always called myself a predator, because I fuck people up for a living. You climb into a cage in your underwear and you beat people up for blood money. Like,
right.
I look at everyone else's food.
Right.
Like, I made a joke at the Fit Expo, and that's the last one here in LA. I was talking to Rose Gracie. I'm like, Rose, if you don't get me my food right now, I'm going to eat one of these bodybuilders. And all these giant dudes around, they just looked at me and were like these kind of angry faces. And then they realized, like, I could literally eat them.
Yeah.
And now I don't look that. I mean, dude, I don't even like saying bad words, and I still say too many. But the way I look at I hold myself back from just the weird, funny things that are going to come out of my mouth. I used to just say because I didn't care. That might not, maybe not, are not inappropriate, but they're just, I don't need to say them kind of shit.
Right.
And I have to get up and talk in front of people and intellectuals. So I have to sound smart and not putting all these, and not just being silly. I have to know a lot of stuff and be able to at least talk on a lot of topics.
Right.
And touch on a lot of stuff. Because, this is my obsession. I learn something every day. I'm constantly teaching or learning or working out super hard. Probably too hard still, but it's fine. I'm getting better at it. I do a lot of yoga, a lot of breath work. I mean, you said about Wim Hof. I've been training. I mean, I got Wim's his online thing years ago. And I met Casper van der Meulen, his first and his resident scientist for a lot of years, who ran all those tests on Wim. Mm-hmm. Casper's a good friend of mine. We became close through my career. And I mean, again, that shows you the guys I become, he's a scientist. He's one of the most foremost breathwork people in the world. And I'm planning on going whenever I have time, because I never have time, to go to Holland and bring a video crew with me. And he's doing psilocybin-assisted breathwork.
That's incredible.
And I understand the processes of it. I understand how psilocybin makes it better.
Sure.
And I understand the performance benefits as much as anyone really right now. I don't know the only other athlete that I know is as educated as I am in this. It would be Daniel Garcia. He's a former NHL player who's been blackballed by the NHL for speaking out.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. And I want to be with him pretty soon. I had 2 weeks actually. But there's just always things to do in this space where, I drive out to Vegas for the fights, to go talk with some people and about what I'm doing. And then also I fly from Vegas to Denver to sit with a group of people where I'm, trying to figure this thing out, and sit with a company called Unlimited Sciences, shoot some footage. I'll be out there with Rashad Evans, a few other people, Heather Jo Clark, I think, and just a good crew of people from this organization where we're going to try and do great things with it. Because there's so many benefits to CTE and TBI with psilocybin specifically. And it's incredible. It's incredible what can happen. I mean,
what's also incredible is just mushrooms in general. It's not even necessarily just psilocybin. I mean, I'm drinking a Four Sigmatic coffee just in honor of our conversation.
Yeah, they're so good.
It's fantastic. I just love frothing that bad boy up. I got the quick easy packs with just a hot cup of water. They're fantastic. Oh, yeah. But I mean, you see things like Shroom Tech from On It. You see all the integration of shrooms and mushrooms into culture, and you see the effects of it, and it's becoming more, like I said, more and more acceptable. I want to ask you, when did psilocybin come into your life, and how much of a role play did it shift from shifting that mentality? I kind of speak about it as like you had, and I think all males have that, whether you be a UFC fighter or a manager at a BMW dealership like I am during my day job. You start as like a war. I always look at it like just movie-wise or something in my brain, but you see yourself as like a warrior, frontline, double battle axes, war paint on your face, and you're standing there just clanking the axes together, getting ready to go to war. And there's somewhere along this process, you can call it enlightenment, you could call it the God self coming through, you could say it's the unlearning of what society made you become, whatever you want to label it. Somewhere along that line, there's a shift where you learn to respond to life rather than react to life. And you're no longer that warrior, but you're transitioning into the elder of the tribe. How much did psilocybin, because it sounds like that's where you are right now. You're not in that battle mode anymore. You've had that ego die. You've had that self, that mask you wore, shed itself, and now you're able to be who you are, who you're called to be. How much did that psilocybin play a role in that, or was that kind of a path you were on initially, and psilocybin was like the kick in the ass?
Oh, man. DMT and psilocybin DMT was the eye-opener, and psilocybin was the work, I would say.
Really? Wow.
I mean, I've been microdosing for 2.5 years now, about. And macrodosing, I mean, very regularly, especially at first, doing all that. And psilocybin has transformed my brain. I mean, I do a lot of biohacking as well through diet, exercise, the breath work and some peptides that I take. My friends have Pyxis Labs out here.
That's cool.
And I have access to the best peptides in the country,
right.
And if not the world, So it's like I don't even know where they sell these things. People ask me, I'm like, I have no idea. This is like legitimate. I mean, they've got stuff for testosterone. See, there's a doctor named Dr. Mark Gordon. So he does supplement, for people with TBI and CTE. He does. He supplements their hormones, testosterone and growth hormone, with synthetic stuff, and gets incredibly positive results. Now, so I tell people that's a huge thing. Though regulating your hormones, your chemical, the way your chemical system in your body is what gets thrown off. So you have to fix that. And I just went, you know what? I don't want to take a bunch of steroids, or that much testosterone. So through my guys, I take a low dose of testosterone, and I take this Endotest testosterone they make. I've dabbled with it because I'm retired. I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. I've dabbled with like their growth hormone stuff and their IGF. And they have a catecine for fat loss. They have EPO stuff. I've never really used that, so I haven't used it. There's tons of like little gadgets and just different peptides. Oh, my favorite one. Besides the testosterone is one called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's Miracle-Gro for the brain is what they call it. And that's what you're trying to produce. That with NAD+, you're trying to produce those two things doing a microdose. That's what you're trying to have your brain, trying to create with this microdose. And, having a peptide open that up and have your body produce a lot more and use what's available, it's incredible. And I've fixed so many issues. Also, BPC, they have a BPC, a body protection compound blend, that I've shoved tons of it in my body just for just for healing of everything. I put so much in my body. I don't have really much arthritis at all, And then
that's incredible.
And then with my diet wise, I own part of a company called Honest Globe, and we have the world's first FDA and third party certified CBD lab and product. And it's just myself and my friends.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
We pulled it off, and it's with the help of Jeff Nowitzki. Jeff's been somewhat of a mentor to me through all this. So we have that, and that's big. That's big news.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're the only person in the world with it. That's blowing up. But I've kind of stepped outside of CBD and cannabis to kind of get into my education stuff for for what I'm doing. I travel again to Denver. I have to give a speech in front of a company. There's adding in diet, the mycology diet. Everyone goes, "Oh, what's the mycology diet?" I'm like, "What do you eat? Okay, whatever you eat, make it the healthiest part, and then add in a bunch of mushrooms." That's all. No. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if you're vegan. I don't care what you eat. I always look at it this way. There's a whole table full of delicious food that you could pick from. Okay, with no mushrooms on it. All the other food. If you feel like taking one of those things out of the diet, take it out. Good for you. But guess what? I don't want to hear you fucking shit on everybody else about it.
Right,
okay?
Exactly.
If you have something good to say, then put it on the table.
Right.
Put this good. Hey, check out what this did for me. Great. Good for you. Awesome.
Right.
You know what? Thank you. I might try that now. But don't try and shit on everybody because they eat something different than you.
Exactly.
But what everyone needs to do is not only share that positive information, but also add in mushrooms. Now, mushrooms, if you didn't know, it's just becoming a more common fact. Mushrooms are more closely related to us than they are
That's
plants.
exactly what I was just about to say. They're not. It's not like eating a plant.
No, dude, it's not. And I eat mushrooms with my Four, every morning, whether it's Four Sigmatic. We're actually we have companies coming out for this because why not? Like I need the products to sell while I'm traveling. And I start with the coffee and my microdoses, and I've also been microdosing LSD pretty recently. I've kind of put it through the last year, I guess, of my life. And it's been great, way more creative. But man, the mushroom diet we're adding in with breakfast, a late breakfast, and then a lunch and maybe a dinner. It just depends on what where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Sure.
I'm busy. Or if there's something on the menu with mushrooms, I get it. So that's one big thing is me adding in, and it's done so much. Antiviral, antifungal properties. People want to fight this Ebola virus or whatever the fuck's going around, coronavirus.
Yeah.
Dude, go get the Paul Stamets immunity booster. It's it's going to save your life.
Yeah.
Antifungal, antiviral properties. They've got trace elements in them, a great source of protein. I mean, these are living beings that we get to eat, and they're intelligent.
Well, it's crazy is when you see like a documentary or the trailer for at least the Fantastic Fungus, and you see how integrated the network of fungus is. It's astounding. And then to know that, you could eat some of them will make you, will elevate your consciousness, and others will kill you. And then you're like, oh, okay. So the intricacy and the diversity of the fungus it's ridiculous. How much are you microdosing?
When I do microdose, I microdose
the psilocybin.
2 usually. Yeah, it depends. If I'm going into yoga, I'll take a whole gram.
Really?
Yeah.
How functional are you on like a microdose?
Oh, dude, I'm super functional. I'm super functional on a full
Well, yeah,
gram.
I'm talking to the guy who was snorting OxyContin before a cage fight. So, good point.
Yeah. I'll be fine.
Yeah. For the average person.
For the average person, 0.1 to 0.25 probably is safe, and that's what I would recommend.
And that's just kind of giving you that same type of nootropic effect where it's kind of allowing you to enter that flow state or word retrieval, or just kind of putting you into more of a state of awareness when just doing your everyday function. Now, what is it? Is it doing anything in regards to like respiratory and things of that nature?
Yes. So you get vasodilation. Yeah, like I said, you get energy sources like ATP. And not everything is quite known about this. So I'm obviously learning more. A woman that I'm friends with, her name is Melissa Dawn. She's the head researcher at the world's first psilocybin research lab in Canada and Jamaica.
Wow. Is that the one that Gloop went to with what's her name?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is just a research lab.
Okay.
They have a facility to dose you up.
Gotcha.
But I'm so excited to work just to talk with her because I get her. Again, my girlfriend being a crazy intellectual scientist and a professor for the last 25 years. Sometimes I feel I'm bad because she has to talk to me all the time because she's so smart.
Right.
And this woman is studied in Eastern philosophy, and she can speak Sanskrit or understand Sanskrit, and was raised by a shaman. Her grandmother was a shaman in Serbia.
That's insane.
She's from, and had to be a good communist in town, and then could go to the forest and be a pagan. Go through these ceremonies.
Isn't it crazy?
She's my first pagan.
Well put. Well, good for you. I'm glad you got one. That's incredible.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm sure it is. It's incredible how we and again even at that time she would be a good communist in the town, and then reveal her mask and go up into the mountains and do what and who she is and what she's called to by, you could say, forces that are beyond her or her truest self. But what an incredible background to have.
Yeah, people, because I'm actually looking into getting us Reverend certification for my friend's plant medicine church and start wearing togas. And people are like, "Oh, are you going to be a shaman?" I'm like, no. I just need to know the process. I need to be deeper in touch with myself as my genetics, my epigenetics. I want to get, who the fuck am I as a person, as an animal?
Yeah. Do you go?
And if I can help people through these, because we do give people ceremonies. We facilitate them through it at least. This is the thing is, that's what people want us there for, is to help them through this sort of stuff, because we know we make it safe.
Well, that's a key thing, and I mentioned it before. It's like set and setting is paramount into
set and setting, and integration is.
So talk about that
important.
now. Talk about the integration aspect of it, because I feel like most people, and again, you're younger, you take mushrooms, you're at a frat house, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden, this just went left real quick, and you're staring at the clock, and time has stood still, and you're questioning reality. So. Yeah. Talk about the integration aspect of things, because I think that, and you just said it, it's probably the bigger than set and setting. Integration afterwards is the biggest, because you could walk away from that experience and just be like, oh, that was trippy, or you could take something from it and have an ego death or whatever you want to frame it as, or you could integrate what you learn? So talk about that process. What have you done? How has it been? And just dive into that a little bit.
I mean, try sitting with the woman that you love. Now, my girlfriend comes from this crazy background of all this, education and success, being one of the beautiful women that sells skincare on TV that she formulated,
Right.
She had a crazy sex addiction, like gnarly, and she'll give a TED talk, and she's coming out about with it more, so I'll let her tell the story, but
Sure.
just some wild shit. And then go over your life together and your addictions, my sex addiction and drug addiction, just the crazy shit both of us have done, and to become okay with, like literally completely okay with all of that, and be so in love that you just hold space for each other. You give another perspective, and you help integrate the things you've learned, these amazing things you've learned during these trips into your life in a daily practice. And, you obviously music is a huge thing. Music is massive. The vibrations are a really, really, really big deal.
So you're listening to like binaural beats? You're listening to like East Forest? What are you listening to?
Well, I just found out I'm a Viking. I was raised Mexican. I'm not Mexican. I look at my parents. I'm like, you fucking weirdos.
You're a legit Viking?
Yeah, I'm like 37% Viking.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
36% Spaniard, 37% Viking, and then Native American and Greek.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, if now look at who you are as a person, and the person, or who you were as a person, and who you are becoming now, and transitioning into this elder of the tribe and going to get certification and becoming a shaman. It all kind of makes sense that you would start off as a Viking warrior Spartan, and then slowly
a berserker.
A berserker, exactly.
Yeah,
and then
because that's what they used to give them as Amanita muscaria mushrooms.
And now you're slowly transitioning into a stoic.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw my future during a crazy ceremony we had at an Indian reservation or a plant medicine church at my friend's Indian reservation in San Diego. And he puts you in a wamkish. It's this little teepee without a top, basically. I mean, it's 8-foot high walls, a tarp, and sticks with a fire in the middle, and a door on one side. And he plays the fire, and he tells you the plight of the Indians, and tells you the whole story, and it's beautiful. And all of a sudden, because he's burning local sage and cedar and stream water, and the sage is burning, you get this crazy DMT trip. And I saw my future. It was like, boom, I was in my future, and it was very stoic. We'll just leave it there. It was very, very stoic. It's hard to explain, but like there was a scribe writing down what I was saying, and I don't even know what I was saying, but it was intense.
That is wild. That's one thing I'm very curious about, is the ayahuasca DMT release and the DMT dump. And I teeter on the fence with it, because I think that, is it like, again, and this is just an ego being protective of the self and the self that I've created and protecting the mask, but is it the thing that just connects all the crazies, or is it the thing that really pushes you over the top and really puts you in the right frame of mind and gives you the universal truth? I lean towards the latter, but there's always that little bit of just old programming and calcification of pathways in my brain that says, "Oh man, that's scary,"
Yeah. So this is the thing. I haven't done ayahuasca yet. I've done a lot of DMT. I haven't even done 5-MeO DMT. Those are the two things I haven't done.
Okay.
And I haven't done peyote either. I've done mescaline, but never actual straight peyote. But I've done San Pedro. So there's a few things I still need to get done, but I'm not rushing into it, because I want to be called to it, because
exactly.
I study this, and I obsess over it, and I respect the fuck out of it, and it's a big deal to me. So I always was like, I have to go to Peru. I'm not going to have some fake ass American ayahuasca and whatever. But
you don't want to be in an apartment in Jersey.
They grow ayahuasca in Hawaii.
Right. Now, if you were to go to Peru, would you do like I'd
probably do like 5 days.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah. Would you do it? Would you do it in a hut type thing, or would you go to like a rhythmia type thing?
I'd go to the jungle.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm a savage. I got to be in the jungle.
That's the way you have to do it. I had Sean Webb on. He came up with the book Mind Hacking Happiness, and he's hosting a podcast, Two Seals and a Walrus. And he went and did ayahuasca in Peru with 2 Navy SEALs. And he was like literally on like 3 different boats, and like they're like, oh yeah, there's a dog here because a jaguar came in the middle of the night and scared some people, so we had to get a dog. And I'm like, that's the way I want to do ayahuasca. I don't want to be on a resort and then like waking up and having like a matcha tea and doing yoga. Like I want some like the good food is the street food that's in the dirty little spot. That's the good food. That's the good Mexican food, man, on the truck and in the tiny little spot. You don't want to go to like the main restaurant. So I feel like if I was going to go and do ayahuasca, I'd want to do it the right way, like the real ritual, homegrown way. And that's the way to really do it.
That's what I always said. And I found a place to do that here in Southern California, and it's going to happen soon. I've been called to it. I met with the people. We've had a long talk about it, and we hung out, like for a weekend. And Chad, listen, this is how serious I take it. I don't just go do it and sign up for it.
Of course
I go talk to the people. I go talk to the people I'm doing it with, and see what their intentions are and see what kind of people they are. And I met some amazing people. Like I met some really, really, some of the coolest people I've met in this industry. And I'm excited to explore this friendship and this journey together, because it's me. I always laugh at Aubrey Marcus because he's just so gone so over the top. But guess what? So have I. I listen to Chris Vadas. I go to. I'm trying to set up a shamanistic concert series here in Laguna Beach, because I've been going to dealing with a bunch of shaman who play music. Yeah. I'm trying to put on psychedelic movies like Dosed and Fantastic Fungi, another one called The Medicine, about hosting events, because we have a plant medicine church here that I'm at in Laguna Beach, so we want to be here. This is our spot. This is our home,
Right.
So we have a huge culture here, and it's great. And plus, it's fucking Laguna. This place is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm on the balcony right now, looking at the beach, and it's from on top of the hill. It's so beautiful.
Dude, lucky bastard. I'm on the East Coast, and I was born and raised here. And everyone's like, yeah, you live on the wrong coast, buddy. I'm like, I know. My heart and soul are from California, or at least the Pacific Northwest. And so is my mindset. It's just not meant for the East Coast. I just don't have that vibe. When you say you want to be called to it, what do you think? Because I don't think you ever have an aha moment when it comes to anything like this. It's a slow, like you said, it's an integration. It's a slow process. I think, you could have Eckhart Tolle's amazing moment on the bench in London and all of a sudden become enlightened, which I believe he probably did go through. I'm not doubting that. But I think that anything is a slow process of integration and knowledge, and then the ability to act on that knowledge and recall that knowledge and incorporate that knowledge into your life. So what would a calling be to you, other than meeting with the people and having an experience with them and sitting down? What would a calling be? What would it look like to you? What do you think would be the, yes, this is I'm being called to this?
It was just the conversations and the people and the energy. And we played music, and, we hung out all night, and we, laid by the fire and just chatted about life and philosophized about things. The repetition is the mother of skill.
Right.
That's how I learn. I beat things into my brain, and then I use them on a daily basis in conversation. Things like this knowledge that I'm learning, I repeatedly talk about it, and I bring it up because I want everyone to know what I'm going through, and I want to talk about it. I'm a comedian as well. I do stand up now.
Yes.
And again, that's a obsession of mine. I talk for a living. I have to. So at least if I'm going to be on stage with doctors and scientists, I need to sound good. I need to know how to talk, and I need to be funny, or at least likable.
Right. At the very least, I got to be likable.
Yeah, everyone wants me to host all these events. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can set these businesses up. I consult for companies in the space, and that's just what I do. It's a lot of fun, and it's amazing to make a living, and living where I'm at with this stuff. It's not, and I'm not. The thing is I'm not selling drugs anymore. I'm educating in the space of science, and I'm learning, and I'm building my own protocols for microdosing for sports, and a teaching platform or system, at least, some sort of a curriculum for this, where, I can teach athletes to not just be great, but be elite, be these people that are, these guys that move like Israel Adesanya, speaking of this weekend, or John Jones, or, Demetrius Johnson, these guys that are in these crazy flow states constantly, it looks like. I can get you there with just a medicine. It's not hard, and you can go figure it out yourself. I'm not going to, get it for you, but I can at least give you the information.
So how does microdosing get integrated into sports? So you're saying, like, yes, there is obviously a key element where you could hit a flow state. We've talked about it almost acting as if it being a nootropic. How does it integrate into sports? How do you get it to be a part of it and not be perceived in a taboo steroid type of enhancement?
Well, you got to look at it as just the ultimate protectant for your brain. It's so good for you. And with the things that it livens up in your brain, if you look at scans of your brain sober and on microdoses, your whole brain is lit up. Areas that do not light up regularly light up on this. You're building new neural pathways, restoring old ones, washing the receptors clean, no damage. Whether it's smoking cessation, addiction stuff, pain. Like I said, the inflammation and also the actual the pain stimulus. Your sensory system is seemed to like helped out so much. And then you have absorption of information, mental acuity, visual acuity, sight acuity, sound acuity. Taste. Everything is just changed.
So you're just elevated.
Yes, you are just elevated, and then you have mobility. So you not only have kinetic efficiency, your body moves very efficiently. It's not going to make you physically stronger, like putting more testosterone in your body,
right?
But it will make you move much more efficiently, expend less energy. You get rid of the fear response, so you're not worried about anything, but you still are able to see these problems you're trying to solve. And that seems to what it turns into is it's a game. It's a problem. So you're sitting there in the flow state moving, and you can see microaggressions, micro movements. The sound of all the, this is like so much.
Yeah, no, I'm following every single step. But you say it inhibits.
Mobility is a big thing as well too. Mobility goes up.
So your mobility goes up in what regard? Just your ability. Obviously, you're in a flow state, so everything's kind of in connection. Your breath and everything.
The fear response.
So yeah, I want to ask you about that. So wouldn't you need that fear response to be there in order to, obviously you don't want to just be like, all right, I'm like floating right now, and then all of a sudden you're getting rocked. Obviously there has to be some type of fear response. So you're saying a unnecessary fear response, like a tightness of the self?
Yes, and also, so before a fight, I would give a fighter in training, or at least in our work, he would be doing, or she would be doing, a macro dose.
So how much is consisting in a macro dose?
Depends how deep they want to go. At least 3.5. You don't even have to do that much realistically. If you're fasted and you put it in, you pulverize it, put it in powder, make it powder form. You put it into lemon tech, which is lemon. I like to use lemon, fresh squeezed lemon, fresh squeezed pineapple juice, and beet juice. Mix them together.
I just ate mine on a Big Mac.
Yeah, you have citric acid, you have bromelain to break down the protein structure even further, which is an enzyme, and then you have vasodilation through the beet juice, and dude, you're up and running within 10 minutes.
Wow!
Especially on a fasted stomach.
Right.
But again, this is for work. You're not, you're sure you could be stretching or you're meditating, but this is something you need to like work through. And we go on a vision quest, and you come up. So trauma is stored in the tissue. Mm-hmm. And I cannot have that trauma manifesting as octagon jitters while you're in the biggest fight of your life, because that's what happens. If I can knock down these traumas, you won't have that. You won't have those octagon jitters. That's how the body works.
Right.
And I'm excited to explore this and play with these guys like video games instead of just seeing a player in front of you, seeing the whole board. That's the plan.
You have your own little avatars that you can control.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Question for you. In regards to the stoned ape theory, I imagine you're on board with it wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly. I at first you're like, oh yeah, cool, man. That's a cool story. And then you do a lot of mushrooms and you go, oh my God, it's true.
Now, for those who don't know, it's the expansion of the human mind. And the theory is that we ate mushrooms, and that's what made our mind and our consciousness grow to be able to bring it to its current state. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes.
It's just the dumbed down version.
Yes, and that's exactly it. And honestly, I think it's happening again with this many people taking psychedelics and mushrooms specifically. and seeing how popular they're getting within culture and nutrition. And just the coffee scene in general is huge because they're so good for you. I mean,
it's in Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
It's in Stop and Shop. Here's my question for you. And I ask a lot of my guests this, do you think that there is a shift in the collective consciousness, a shift in culture because we're transitioning into an evolutionary change? Or do you think it's you're seeing it more because you're exposed to it more? You're buying a new car, you see that car everywhere. Or do you think it's probably a little bit of the combination of the both?
Yeah, it's a combination of the both.
Yeah.
I mean, I that's what I post about every day. It's just psychedelic stuff pretty much, or workout stuff, or, and it's my obsession. The last time I became obsessed with something, I became the best in the world at it. And I'm not saying I'm going to become the best mycologist in the world, or the best psychedelic guy or taker, but I'm just like my new podcast is called The Intellectual Giants. I'm just trying to educate myself as much as possible because I'm on a quest to become, or at least get as close to becoming an intellectual giant as possible. I want to be that guy that can philosophize with people and help change the world for the better and influence people for good, and help them get better.
Yeah, and
help them give them the tools to do it for themselves. That's the thing.
Well, right now I'm going for my life coaching certification, and that's such a huge part of it. It's not, and they make the distinction between life coaching and therapy is going back and reopening and exposing and trying to cauterize old wounds, where where life coaching is meeting people where they are and knowing that we ourselves have the ability to move forward and we have the answers within us. And it's just to hold space for people to allow them to come to their own conclusions and their own answers on what's going to allow them to excel and become the best versions of themselves. So I'm all on board with that. I have another question for you. Have you ever done any type of microdosing or macrodosing and done any flotation therapy?
You know what? I haven't, and that's the crazy thing. I've taken high doses of THC, edible THC, and that's great. But yes, I need to go to Newport Float out here in Orange County and see my buddy. He owns it. I've been there a bunch, but I've just never taken. But I won't go micro. I'll go pretty big. I mean, that's
because that was my kind of introduction into this world, not the psilocybin and the floating, but just floating in general was what opened up Pandora's box for me. Or it was just the red pill for me, and I was like, okay, we're gonna. There's always been signs throughout my entire life that this is the path I was going, and now it's confirmed. So I'll take that red pill, and away we go.
Yep, it's we're off and running on this one.
There's no turning back. Ian, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you have to get to recording your own podcast, but I really appreciate it. And again, transitioning from that warrior to that elder, I'm reading right now The King, the Warrior, the Magician, and the Lover, and it's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's really about how we get stuck in these psychological tendencies and these pathways of who we are from when we're children, and how you break that mold, and how that stereotypical child comes into adulthood, and how you allow yourself to become a king, a warrior, a magician, a lover, and how you need to be all of them, but sparingly and correctly. And I know that transition because I'm going through it myself, or at least I like to think I am. And I know it's a lot of hard work, but the work is definitely worth it.
Yeah, man, it really is. And those books have been so beneficial for me. I'm excited. Just send me that info and I'll start remembering it.
I absolutely will. Absolutely. And where can people pick up on everything with the psilocybin decriminalization, and obviously on Instagram? Go for it, man.
I'm the event coordinator for Decrim CA in Orange County, and setting up a lot of events. So check out decrimca.org and sign, please. We need as many signatures as possible. And go check out my social media, Uncle Creepy MMA. My new podcast is The Intellectual Giants. My old podcast is called Storytime with Uncle Creepy. And that one's more going to be all MMA based and just stuff in that realm. And the new one's going to be exactly what I explained. So if you can, check it out. And thank you. And have fun. And take care of yourselves, everybody. It's easier than you think.
It's easier than you think. Well put. And I'm still trying to find one of those T-shirts on the website. So once I do,
All right, I'll get you one.
All right, I appreciate it. Ian, thank you so much, man. All the best to you. Much love, brother.
Thank you.
Take care, man. Peace. Ian, Uncle Creepy McCall. The transition from a octagon fighter to a shaman in the works. Discovering his higher self. Excellent. Hope you enjoyed that. I did. Very informative, very deep. Had so much more to dive into. It's just like once you go on you go into these conversations with people, it's just like you can go on for hours. It's endless. Hope you enjoyed it. I will check you guys out next time. Until then, much love. Peace.